We praise and thank God for gathering us this Sunday as one community of faith, and we open ourselves again to His renewing Word, His body and blood, and His Spirit. And we thank our brothers and sisters who are with us in this Eucharistic celebration through live streaming. Para po sa mga kababayan natin na nasa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo at sa araw na ito ay nakikiisa sa misa dito po sa Colegio Filipino sa Roma, binabati po namin kayo at sana kayo ay nasa mabuting kalagayan. Our readings for today are a good guide to our daily experience of trials. Who does not undergo trial? No. When your alarm goes on to wake you up in the morning, first trial. Will you wake up or not? Don't you feel like pretending, parang sisipunin ako eh. I better continue in bed. First trial, no? And that is the beginning of many trials during the day. No day is complete without trials. We experience trials as some sort of forces trying to defeat us. It's almost like a question of conquest. Who will win? Who will win? In the Gospel, Jesus just heard of the death of John the Baptist. And upon hearing that, he withdrew to a deserted place by himself. Maybe Jesus was grieving. Maybe Jesus was afraid. His relative was just killed. The one who announced his coming. What do you do? What do you do? In the first reading, the people Israel, because of their infidelity to God, was sent on exile, a defeated people. They lost their land and even their identity as God's chosen ones. Humiliated, conquered. St. Paul, in the second reading, must be talking about his own experience of retaliation, of arrests, of threats. Kayo po, mga minamahal na kapatid, ano po ang parang malaking puwersa na nakikipagtunggalian sa inyo at parang pakiramdam nyo, kayo'y malapit ng matalo, malapit na kayong malupig. Sometimes we hear that, people say, I have no more strength to fight. Parang sagad na. But how did Jesus respond? The crowds heard of his retreating to a deserted place, and they followed him on foot from their towns. At mukhang nauna pa kay Jesus. When Jesus arrived there, he saw the vast crowds, and he was conquered. not by fear, not by grief, but by compassion. Compassion conquered him. And whatever reason he had for retreating was forgotten, was let go of. And he started curing the sick. Someone who probably started already being conquered by loneliness, by grief, and by fear, seeing the crowds, seeing their sick, he allowed himself to be conquered by compassion and love. This is the same love that we see in the first reading. God, pained by the infidelity of Israel, could have said, I will make sure you remain in exile. Bahala na kayo. Sinaktan nyo na ako, tama na, ayaw ko nang magmahal pa. But no, God says to these people who has wearied him, all you who are thirsty, come to the water. You who have no money, come, eat. Come without paying, without cost. Drink wine and milk. Hindi na tayo magtutuusan. Kung walang-wala ka, halika. Halika. And I will renew with you the everlasting covenant, the benefits assured to David. God allows his heart to be conquered by love, and that love assures his people, you have done wrong, but come, let us renew our covenant. And the Jesus whom we saw in the gospel, who will not retreat because of his love for us, this is the love that gives St. Paul an assurance. If God is for us, who can be against us? And St. Paul asks, who will separate us from the love of God? No? The trials are almost personalized. Who? Anguish, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, or the sword. When they come in the one by one, and when they come together, who will not feel weak? Huh? Who will not feel like, I give up, I give up? No. But here, St. Paul says, in all of these things, we conquer through Jesus who has loved us. We do not conquer. It is God. It is Jesus in his love. The God who always allows love to conquer him. We can conquer everything and everyone against God through the love of God. But we need to come and eat of his love. Meaning we have to believe. In the first reading, God says, come to me heedfully. Listen that you may have life. Listen to my word. This is the food that I am sharing with you. Believe. And when you believe in my love, you can conquer everything in my love. So the assurance of God's love is being proposed to us again this Sunday. And let us not pretend that we can conquer. No, it is God's love that will conquer. It is God's love that will heal the sick. It is God's love that will multiply the bread, not us. Kaya po pag tayo ay nagpanggap na kaya nating lupigin ng lahat ng yan, lalo pong babagsak. We allow God's love to conquer us. And we conquer evil with the love of God. Okay? Kaya hope, no? Pag-asa. And finally, now, in the gospel especially, we have this miracle of the multiplication of the loaves. The disciples were probably conquered by fear. How do you feed 5,000? If today, 1,000 people suddenly show up here in Colegio Filipino, no? Who will not panic? Maybe all of us will pretend to be sleeping. Nagpapadala ng text, walang sumasagot. Kasi everyone pretending, no? We're conquered by fear. Turn off the doorbell. No, aba, hindi biro yung magpakain ka nga ng 100 na walang abiso. Aba, ito, Jesus telling you, no, don't send them away. Give them food yourselves. Now, who will not panic? Or probably, they were also conquered by their tiredness and their grief. They were also worried. They wanted to rest. So send them home. Of course, they had to give a good alibi. No, let them go home so that they will not go hungry. They can buy food for themselves. We care for them, Jesus. But Jesus saw through them, no. Let them stay. You give them something to eat. Then the miracle happens. Now, the disciples did not produce the miracle. It was Jesus. It was Jesus who produced the miracle. The disciples, however, should be there to see what they have, the 5 loaves, the couple of fish, to bring them to Jesus, and then to bring the love of Jesus to the multitudes, and to pick up the leftovers, good for another meal. We are all disciples. No? What do you have? Bring what you have to the loving hands of Jesus. Maybe we are just a grain of rice, no, for the rice-eating people, no. We can say, oh, I have only 1 grain of rice. Each one is a grain of rice. That's okay. No? Some are sticky rice. Some are husky rice. Some are red rice. Some are, never mind. No? Let them be transformed by the love of Jesus. And hunger will be conquered. The threat of hunger will be conquered. What do you have? You have 1 drop of water. Bring it to the hands of Jesus. And drop by drop, so many people will be cleansed and will be assured that they are not forgotten, that people care for them. Let the love of Jesus poured into our hearts constantly conquer our fears, our selfishness, And let the love of Jesus multiply our little bread, our little grain of rice, our drop of water, so that the fears of the world will be conquered. Smile, and your smile will be multiplied. You smile at someone, chances are that someone will also smile back. Ayan na, nagmultiplication na ng smiles. Sumimangot ka, nagmumultiply ang simangot. And so evil has conquered us rather than the love of Christ. Yung mga bata, di ba, may mata, naglalaro, ano ang response? Karen, ayun, multiplied na. Dumila na, gumanyan pa. That's how evil spreads. Kaya nga, love you. Oh, hindi tapos. Ang daming masasakit na salita. Masasakit na salita rin ang binabato. Di nag-multiply ang masasamang salita. Let us multiply the good bread. Let us multiply the couple of fish. Let the love of Christ conquer anguish, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, peril, or the sword. For a while, these conquerors would think they have won. And no, there is a secret in the love of Christ. There are more conquerors than they could imagine. Okay. I was very much edified when I visited a section of the Archdiocese of Manila, a poor section, Parola. And fires seem to be already a part of their lives. Parola, a section belongs to Binondo, a portion belongs to Tondo. So when the reporters say, there is a fire in Parola, you ask, which part? Binondo, Tondo, so that you'll know which one to contact. No? There was once a fire in the Tondo side, so I went a day after the fire, and some parents asked if their children who were serving at church in the parish as altar boys, as catechists, if they could be sheltered for a while in the rectory, which was very, very small. But at least they have shelter. So I told the parish, please, yes, please, accept them. We don't want the children to be exposed and be vulnerable there, no? Yeah. And then I went to the place for Mass, and they did the best that they could, no? To have a stage for the Mass in the midst of ruins. I could even still smell the smoldering fire. And since it was in the open, they had parang a canopy, no? And they assigned people that will move the canopy. And the moment the sun comes to my direction, so there's this moving canopy. No? I would not have thought of that, but you see the goodness of the people. No? They just lost their house, but they were thinking of the comfort of the bishop. No? So I actually wondered, how come the sun stopped moving? And then I saw this group of people that were following the sun. And then there was a testimony. The woman who gave the testimony was very active in church. She said, Your Eminence, what else could we say now you see our condition? And then she said, but we have a community rule here. If a fire starts somewhere, someone should spread the word to warn the others. And then the communities that have been warned, you bring out whatever water you have in the house. 1 glass, half a glass. It might help protect the other houses. It is not run for your life. Whatever you have, no matter how much water it is, you bring out. And there are persons assigned to collect the water to prevent the spread of the fire. This miracle is true. This happens unnoticed, but there before you erupts the love of Christ that conquers all selfishness, distress, persecution, and hopelessness. Let us offer ourselves as a tiny grain, tiny bread, or a drop of water for the love of Christ to make more miracles, perform more miracles in our time.